Can we give it up for Patrick Goen? Patrick, man, he's been here for a long time. It's really cool. We had all staff yesterday where we bring all of our staff together, and we had Roz, who's some of y'all's therapist, and she's been here for 7 years. It's just wild to me. It's, in my mind, I feel like we just opened the other day, and to think that, you know, people have given almost a decade of their life to this mission at full time, and just the countless people that she has impacted. And I just say that because, I mean, we live in a world where you really don't see consistency and dedication and people that, you know, will run with you for that long, and just kind of the way that everybody gets offended, and the way that people, you know, blow out and always looking, you know, for change and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, you know, because there is more opportunity, but sometimes there is something to say about being planted, about staying somewhere long enough to be able to build and to be able to, you know, just see something grow and to develop, and especially with us who are wired the way that we are wired. And, you know, when you think about addiction, alcoholism, it's really escapism, right? And you think, like, we don't like life on life's terms. Things get hard and difficult. And it's not, hear me when I say that, I'm not trying to label you or put that as a part of your identity. In some ways, I can flip that and say, there's nobody more committed to the game than we were, okay? we were some of the most committed people in the way of life, but we were committed, obviously, to the wrong thing, but a lot of times to good things. Like, right now, I'm going to assume that if you are not, you know, have some severe mental illness that you have escaped or hidden from us, that you are of sound mind. Yes, you deal with addiction, and that is mental illness in its own right, but this is not a primary psych facility, okay? So, like, if you believe that, you know, that I'm a Russian spy and I'm getting ready to, like, extract, you know, then you need to go somewhere else, right? Then you are in psychosis and you shouldn't be here, right? So I'm going to assume that you're of sound mind, and that, you know, I mean, maybe some of y'all are aspiring to be a better drug addict when you get out of here, that you would get more prison time, that you would destroy more lives. I don't know, but I'm going to assume that whenever you do get out of here, that you are praying for some type of healthy relationship, that your bank account would increase exponentially, amen, right? And that you want to have a life that you're proud of. You want to have a good job, and you want to make more money than you've ever made before, and that you want to go to the next level, okay? And if you don't want those things, I'm going to convince you to want those things, okay? That's why God brought you here. Those are the things that I believe that He has for us, and, you know, I'm going to push you to want those things, you know, and whatever that looks like. I mean, it doesn't mean like, you know, oh, everybody here's got to go start a company, or everybody here's got to aspire to, you know, go to the moon, or whatever it might be. It might just be whatever it is, that you want to be a better father, that you want to be have more impact as a mom, as a spouse, as, you know, in the AA community, or you want, whatever it might be, right? I mean, there's just, you know, hear me whenever I say, like, next level, more impact. I'm just saying that we should always want to grow and develop, okay? But guess where the pressure is going to come from? When you get all those things, when God answers those prayers, brings those children back into your life, gives you a spouse, yeah, I mean, like, that will be, those will be the answers to your prayers, but the byproduct of those answered prayers is what is going to bring all of the stress into your life. That's why this season right now becomes so critical, because this is the preparation for the next season of blessing. Everything you're praying for right now. You want an awesome life. You want a house. You know, you get you a house. You want to own a house. It's good, you know, because that's better. That means that you're putting equity into something. You're not renting something. You're not paying somebody else's mortgage. You're not increasing somebody else's net worth. At that point, whenever you purchase, you own. But guess what comes with owning? You don't get to make a phone call anymore to the front desk and be like, hey, plumbing's out. Send Ricky over here to knock it out. That becomes your issue. Then you got to call 3 plumbers and see who's going to give you the best rate. And then when you get there, you got to figure out if they're trying to screw you or not. You have all, like the headache comes with the ownership. It comes with the next level of whatever it might be. And so what happens is, if you're not careful in this season of preparation, the blessing will crush you. The blessing that you want in your life, if you don't take this season seriously, because it will come. It really will come. And you'll see it all the time. You see it all the time. Sometimes, man, some of the people in here will be the most dialed in people. Man, you will be all about first up, doing the devotion. You're Mr. Spiritual in all the groups. You got everything. And then all of a sudden you graduate and you get that first paycheck. And then all of a sudden you come walking up through here like you're Conor McGregor. You are looking like a nut. I'm like, bro, you got one paycheck. You just went out and financed a Rolex and bought a $700 pair of Jordans on your, you said, chill out, chill out, chill out. You think like I just pulled that out of thin air. That's a true story. Seriously, I can see the client right now in my face. And so I really I couldn't remember. I've been doing guest speakers lately because I'm just going through all this craziness in my own life. And so I just kind of like benched myself for a little bit and then realized that I did not have a guest speaker tonight. So you got me. Sorry. Look, man, there's a lot of things I'm not good. There's a lot of things I'm not good at, but teaching people how to get off dope and beat dope, I'm good at. And I think that's why y'all are here. That's what I know how to do, and I know this life is better, and I think that I can give it to you in a way, because whenever I do prepare to speak, I always think about, I went through my first treatment center in Tupelo, Mississippi. It's actually Moorville, right outside of Tupelo, when I was 18 years old. Pretty sure I'd been hanging with Whit the night before, and then I was off to treatment the very next day in Moorville, Mississippi, and I went over there for 45 days. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and they started, if some of y'all, this is your first treatment center, you're hearing all this new rhetoric, right? You're hearing about sobriety, you're hearing about recovery, hearing about all these little phrases, works if you work it, work the program, just all the little, I try to stay away from them, but they have their place. And some of y'all for the very first time are getting hit with this idea of sobriety. And in my mind, where I came up, like, I don't even, like, there was one little table. I went to a little small private school in Mississippi called Lee Academy. And there would be like one little table of guys that went to church, and they were the ones that like didn't party or whatever, and we had nothing in common, and that was like the only reference that I even had to like people, what I'm saying? And in my mind, those were like the biggest losers that had ever lived. I just couldn't understand, like, those the girls, like, you didn't mess with the girls. Like, it just was like, they're just like a little table, and those are the ones that didn't do it. And so this whole idea, I mean, we all got different backgrounds, but some of y'all for the very first time, and my whole culture was built around drinking. Not necessarily dope where I came up from, but everything was built around drinking. Everybody would drink and drive. Everybody was at the lake getting drunk. That's all we did. I mean, it was just college football. Whether you're in Oxford or you're at Starkville or whatever it might be. I mean, just everything was built around that. And so they introduced this idea of sobriety, of recovery. And I'm thinking like, what? Like, what is this? Like, I couldn't even I didn't have like a grid. Like, I'd never seen it. I mean, my parents drank there was just not even like a, and I wouldn't even say that my family in general were necessarily like these big partiers. But it was just the idea, and so I'm like, okay, I got it. Here's what it means. I'm not going to get high, and I'm not going to get drink, but I'm going to hang around the same people, and I'm going to be the DD. I'm going to be Whit's DD. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up, and Whit's going to get high, and I'm going to drive around, and I'm not going to get high. Okay? And that was like as far as I could take it. You know, I just didn't. And I'm sitting there, and I don't know about some of y'all. I mean, some of y'all have been beat up. You wear the physical signs of a life that has been burned up by addiction, okay? Some of y'all are 18 years old, right? And you're walking up to a guy that's 52, okay? And he's wearing all the signs of a life that has been, you know, that has been spent in active addiction, and you're just like, like that ain't me. Like, I don't know. I hear you talk, you know, and that's it, right? I mean, as we get older, you know, we want to grab somebody young and be like, hey, you ain't got to go down this path, right? But the reality is that, you know, until that person can grasp that, we're like, you know, like, I mean, I just remember a guy sitting down and being like, I've lost, you know, 3 marriages, you know, $600,000, you know, house, and I'm sitting there like, I'm like, bro, like, I hear you, but you ain't me. Like, I don't know, you know, like, you would be respectful and listen, but you're like, bro, that is not me. I ain't you. And that was me. Except that I just had a family that had some resources, and I was still young, and it hadn't had a chance to beat me up physically, and I hadn't had enough time out there to do what that person had done, but I was certainly there. And I think about me in that frame of mind, what needed to be said to me in that moment to avoid the next 9 treatment centers. Because some of y'all are sitting in there tonight, and honestly, you know, we don't do the steps a lot here. Okay? I love the steps. Some people think like, oh, we're the non-AA program or whatever it is. And then you hear Christians all the time, they're like, you don't need 12 steps, you need 1 step. You're just like, okay. No, you break it down. It is a systematic approach to help you work through it. It's like Christians in science. You're like, oh, that's science. That's not, no. Like, let science be science, and it integrates with faith. Like, it's not, they don't polarize. They're not like, it's not an either or. Like, facts are facts. And the same thing with working through the 12 steps. You need to understand that there has been a level of unmanageability and powerlessness in your life. Okay? That's not anti-Jesus. You don't need 12, you need 1. What? No? I mean, like, it's nothing more than just understanding that sin, that methamphetamines, Adderall, crack, crack. Raise your hand if your drug of choice is crack. Just kidding. Crack. It's nothing funnier than when you tell a heroin addict that they smoke crack and they get so embarrassed. Anyway, it's just such a wild thing. Crack. I remember smoking crack for the first time. Somehow I realized, like, dude, crack could mess you up, dude. You know, I'm telling you. Dude, I don't know if anything can in that wallet like crack can. I mean, that's a rough drug, man. Jesus. Me, you, Carl, and Trace. Oh my God, dude, crack. And it's a hell of a drug. And so there's, you know, and what happens is like you might come in and you might be fully convinced that crack cocaine is a hell of a drug, okay? I mean, you might understand fully that heroin and fentanyl are some rough stuff, but you might not be convinced that alcohol is that big of a deal. You know, I mean, you might be sitting in here being like, dude, I'm going to deal with the fent. I'm going to deal with the Xanax. I'm going to deal with, you know, whatever it is. But you ain't going to touch my alcohol. Like, I'm still going to drink wine. I'm still going to smoke weed. And what you have got to understand is that it will all lead you back there, okay? Look, let me be your research and development team, all right? I've done all the R&D. Because my dad actually went through treatment. I don't even know what year. I was probably like, I know I was born, but I was probably 4, 5, 6 years old. But listen, I mean, he went to treatment and then came back and he could still drink. Okay, like that jacks me up. Because that's an anomaly. That's not normal. And occasionally you can find some data, right? Like relationships in early recovery are typically 99% of the time that are epic disasters. But occasionally you'll find, you know, Billy and Susan are like, oh, we met in rehab. Like we met in group and locked eyes and we've been happily married for 47 years. And you're like, yep, ladies, what's up? Here I come. I want that story. And then you're smoking crack in 48 hours. That's what normally happens. That is why that I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. I bought that building over there at 2nd Avenue. I spent all that money to separate that because I knew that it typically, and I've got one Good Landing recovery baby, okay? I got one GLR baby. It happened like 5 years ago. We had both programs together, and it was a male client that had left, and him and some girl met up out in the woods, and there's one, to my knowledge, there's only one GLR baby, okay? But anyway, so I don't want any more GLR babies, all right? So it is coming to realize that any mood-altering substance will typically lead you back to your drug of choice, okay? I have no desire. Like when I would get out of treatment, I was never like, I cannot wait to go back and lose 37 pounds and get in the blinds for 4 hours and look at stuff that's not there. I never once was like, God, get me back there. That was awesome. Never once was I. Dude, I'm telling you, I did not have the mental fortitude for methamphetamines, okay? Like I was the worst, okay? And I never wanted that. I would never go back and be like, hey, drop me off, you know, at that trailer over there that smells like ammonia. I was never did I want that. But what I did want, I wanted so badly to put on a suit, go to a wedding with friends of mine, or go to the country club, or go to whatever, and have a couple of, you know, whatever, drinks, wine, beer, whatever, and go home at midnight or 10. That's all I wanted. You know, it'd be so weird, and sometimes I would relapse, and I might do that a couple of times. I'd be like, dude, this is, like, I got it. I went out, I had 3 or 4 beers, I didn't stay up for 4 days, and I went home, and I would be like, man, I got it. I knew that I could hack the system, and then I knew that I could do this. And you give it a few more days, a few more of those trial runs, and eventually it's not going to do it. Whatever it might be. Somebody just has it, and I've already knocked down my inhibition. Inhibition is gone. Where normally if I was sober and somebody pulled out some dope, that I would have the ability to be able to say no, but I got a couple of drinks in me, and then so-and-so hits you up, or whatever it might be. I promise you, it is going to open up that door and take you back to what you know. Okay? It will take you back to what you know. Because once you open that up, your body knows like what feels good. All right? Any kids in here? Okay. I'm just, you know, I was married, so whatever. And so you couldn't tell me that if I were like to get married, that all I could do with my wife is hold hands. Okay? That's like somebody that was addicted to heroin and being like, hey, all you can have now is a glass of wine. That's like telling you and your wife that all you can do now is hold hands and that's it. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, right? All right. Make sure I got the right audience in here. All right. I just want you to understand, like, that ain't going to cut it. That is not going to cut it, and neither is that. And so that is why step one becomes so important, that it catches everything, that you realize it might have been your drug of choice, right? Everybody's in here right now. It's the first thing you do when you meet somebody at treatment. What up, dog? Where you from? Hey, what's your drug of choice? Oh, it's crack. Oh, it's heroin. Oh, it's whatever, right? And you talk, but what you don't realize is you might be fully convinced that will destroy your life, but you think that the wine, a good friend of mine, I led him to the Lord on his deathbed. And the guy went to prison for manufacturing methamphetamines. Was a good friend of mine, a guy that I looked up to in that area, and he had beat the meth, he had beat the pills, and he had cirrhosis of the liver, and the doctor said, if you drink again, he's like, it's going to kill you. So what he did is he quit drinking the hard stuff, and he got on the wine coolers. Big old dude, that was used to just, be a shot caller, run stuff, however you want to say that, was a big deal in that scene. Was like, hey, everything else, I done beat the dope. I'm not going back to prison. I'm not manufacturing. I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff anymore. I'm going to dumb it back down to the wine coolers. Guess what killed him? Stinking wine coolers. Big old alpha male. He'd beat everything else. Doctor said, you got cirrhosis. It puts down the old charter, puts down all the bird, puts down all that stuff, and switches gears to the little old wine coolers. And the wine coolers are what kills him, man. Literally, I was jumping on a flight to Cincinnati. I was talking to a friend of mine. Zach tells me, hey, Carl is there. Call Gia. It doesn't look like he's going to make it. Anyway, I get in. I get back. Gia tells me, hey, don't come. Don't worry about that. Don't come over there. I jump in my car. I drive over there anyway. Got a ticket, Alabama. And I get over there to his room. And I had already made my mind up. And I just said, Lord, I said, if you open this window for me to be able to talk to him, like I'm not gonna, waste any time talking about old stories. I'm gonna get straight down to business. And I walked in his room, and that dude had been out for days. And he pops up and he looks at me. He's like, what's up, man? And I looked at him and I'm like, hey, I'm here to talk to you about the Lord. And I'll never forget, man, that dude was there on his deathbed within a few days of getting ready to pass away. And I remember the way that he pierced into my soul of like, bro, you better not be playing games with me. And I was able to share the gospel with him, and tears streaming down his face. He received Christ right there on his deathbed. It was a powerful moment. Right after he received Christ, his wife walked in, Gia. They were able to reconcile. It was really something remarkable. But the point is that you've got to get fully convinced that there's no going back. Okay? You have to develop a hatred for that old life. And I'm telling you, as soon as, you have to cultivate it, right? We love the identity, right? We love the fact, like there were certain parts about the image and about the lifestyle that were attractive. The fast living. Look, man, I remember whenever I was doing that, and you can come across somebody and they know what you're about, right? And it doesn't matter what demo they are, it doesn't matter what kind of money they have. Some people that you would run into would look at you and you would know they were shut off and they were not about the life that we were living. And then you would see some of them that would look and you could see it in their eyes that they were enamored by the life that we were living. I remember this kid that came from one of the most affluent families in probably all of Mississippi. And I'll never forget that it shocked me because he was young, like he was in high school, and I was living the life that I was living, and I could tell that he was enamored by the life. Like I saw it in his eyes. He knew what I was about, and I could tell something. Even at this young age, there was something in him that was attracted to this wild drug, whatever crazy life that so many of us live. And then he would go on and he would overdose at 27 years old. And he would be a catalyst to me starting Good Landing because I was kind of on the fence about it. But it was really interesting to me, and I don't really know why I'm bringing that up, but it's just it's just wild to me that some people really are about that life. And what we have to do now is realize God did not make you to be about this life. Okay? I mean, I want you to understand that. It doesn't mean that I'm telling you, hey, become a loser, try to become somebody that you're not. But what you have to understand is that God, that his word says that he doesn't want any of us to perish. He wants that every single person to be saved, okay? So it was never God's plan for your life to be a drug addict or an alcoholic, okay? That is not his plan. It doesn't mean that the fact that we are here now, that he will be able to weave this into the plan for your life or his plan for your life and make it look like that it was supposed to be a part of it, the way that he can redeem something. That's Romans 8:28, that he can make all things work together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purposes. It's unbelievable. I have no idea how God took my misspent youth and all that time doing drugs, drinking, blowing my life, just wasting my life, to be able to turn that now into full-time employment, to have a treatment center that's got a nationwide reach. But he can do that. And he can do that with your life too. He can give you unbelievable impact. Unbelievable impact that he can take the absolute train wreck of a life that you created, that you participated in. You were the villain in that story that you helped when you showed up at Good Landing. I mean, you had the matches and the gas in your hand busted, right? And he can take that level of your commitment into that and then still turn it into something amazing, okay? But you got to trust him long enough and keep this stuff out of it. And you've got to develop a hatred because you keep going back and forth. Look, some of you just really, look, I'm not going to pretend like everything that I listen to, is praise and worship, all right? Everything that I listen to is not praise and worship. Every podcast I listen to is not about Jesus, okay? It's not, all right? I'm not, you guys are on the front end of a new life. I think a lot of you should consider like a true detox from the world while you're in this season of life. It would be real easy to be like, hey, don't ever go back to it, and maybe that's what your conviction will be, and maybe that's what the Lord will do with you. I'd probably be better off if I did that. If all I listened to was praise music, and the only book I ever read was the Bible, and the only thing I ever talked about was Jesus, whatever. All that stuff, it's probably a much better life to do it that way. But while you are resetting your life, you should consider like a full detox from that old work. So, dude, if you're listening to music, talking about selling dope, doing dope, look, I'm not trying to get all you're like, oh God, dude, we really going here. It's just some of those small tweaks like that will radically transform your life. If you'll just remove it long enough where you can set foundationally, and then maybe at some point, I'm not even they'll probably kick me out of here for saying this. I'm just saying, at some point, but in the beginning, if I'm getting ready to start a new diet, I'm getting ready to go on a new fitness journey, it's not good for me to have a cheat meal on day one, okay? You can't reset. But maybe at some point, you know what I'm saying, at 45 days in or something like that, if I'm going to, at that point, have a, all you can eat, whatever, that is on the meal plan, then maybe that makes sense at that point, but it certainly doesn't make sense on day one. So I would just consider looking at that and saying, look, I'm telling you, if you want me to ruin this meeting right now, if I tell them to, throw on Money Back, the baby, whoever, you understand? I will ruin, you know what I'm talking about? You want to ruin a church service? I'll turn on some different music in here, and this thing, I walked up, my walkout song yesterday was Many Men by 50 Cent, okay? It changed the whole whole meeting, all right? So, I just consider that. I can't police it. I can't, make some policy or whatever. That's got to be your commitment to just think, man, how much would my life change if I change what I was being fed? Get some truth in you. Get some word in you. Get some of those things in you. That'll be critical to your success of being able to overcome addiction, all right? So step one, you got to come to a place where you admit that you are powerless and that your life had become unmanageable. Now, there are all different faces of unmanageability. Some of y'all went to prison multiple times. That's unmanageability. That is obvious. Okay? Some of you in here, it just caused some emotional disruption with your family. You know, I mean, I've had guys that came in here to treatment before, high-level commercial bankers, high-level finance guys, high-level business, high-level degrees and stuff, and they would come in and they would get off work at 5 or 6 o'clock, go home, drink 2 bottles of wine, and cuss out their kids. And that was the unmanageability that they felt because they were saying and they were tearing down their own family. And though they had never had a DUI, they had never been to prison, they had never been whatever, the fact that they were cussing out their kids or cussing out their spouse, and they knew that it was a direct result of the alcohol, that was the unmanageability where they said, hey, that's it, that's enough. This thing is taking this much and no more. And that's really got to be the place where you draw this line in the sand and you just say, man, addiction is taking this much and no more. I mean, has it not taken enough from you? I mean, the fact that you are sitting in treatment right now, I want you to have the best time. I want this to change your life. Dude, this should piss you off. I mean, it should bother you. This is great. You're going to look back on this season one day and say, this was the most transforming time of my entire life. I thank God for that season. But at the same time, it should also bother you that you're even in the room. This is not how you're supposed to live. This is not the pinnacle. This is just a seat on the journey. And it should be transformative. I want you to have a good time. I want you to be grateful. You can be all of those things, but at the same time, realizing that there is a better life, that if I'm going to ever come back to Good Landing, it is going to be to work or it is going to be to share my story. Those are the only reasons that you should come back here. I don't need repeat business. There is more drugs and more, anything that is going to drive business. I do not need repeat customers. You can get it right because I promise you it only gets worse. All right, step one. Step two, we'll move through this. Step two is a transition step. All right, step two is coming to believe that a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity, right? So that means that if it's going to restore you to sanity, then that implies that you are currently, or that you were, insane. And the way they define it, especially in the rooms of recovery, is repeating the same mistakes, expecting different results. Dude, I love getting high. Love it. Love it. Love it. I like everything about it. I like running from the police. I like the identity. I like being the bad guy. I like being the villain. I love everything about the life. I like the clothes. I like the music. I like the girls. I like the whole thing that comes with getting high. I love it. All right? I love it. My flesh loves it. Okay? Some people don't love that. They love, I don't know what they love. They love clothes. They love spending money. They got all different types of vices. I love getting high. I like doing dope. I like selling dope. I like the clubs. I like it all. Love it. All right? It destroys my life. It does not love me back. It does not love me the way that I love it. Okay? It does not keep the vows in the way that I kept the vows. All right? Lil Wayne say that? I can't remember. You can't quote him in here. You're not supposed to know that. And so I had to realize that it was insane for me to keep loving this subculture, if you will, this way of life that was destroying my life. That was destroying my life. I remember a friend of mine told me one time, and he was like, hey, the next time that you get in a fight with your girlfriend, he's like, you need to break something. He's like, you need to break something, right? And so I get in a fight, I date this girl named Holly, and we had gotten in a bad fight. And so I took his advice and I tore some of my stuff up, and she left. And I'm sitting there like, dude, I just broke all my stuff and she's gone. Am I in the right room? I just want to make sure, like, I'm here with, you know what I'm saying? Some of y'all look at me like, I'd never do that. Like, okay, I know where you are. So I will say that, you know, it's these crazy toxic relationship that you can be enamored by it, love it, and then realize that it is destroying your life. I mean, most of you here, it sends you to jail. It has destroyed your marriages. You're not with your children right now at home. It stole your ability in athletics. Some of you never knew your real potential, never saw a D1 scholarship and you should have had it, or you did have a D1 scholarship and you never saw the league. You know, some of you never reached your full potential. You've been operating at 10% your whole life. And even if you love it the way that I love it, that I have to crucify that and say, man, that life kills me, and as much as I love it, it does not love me back. And so I have to burn the bridge and cultivate a hatred and remind myself what it will do to me if I go back. I can't go back. I don't like being in jail. I do not like prison. I like running from the cops until they catch me. I was telling that story earlier today. Old sheriff showed up at my girlfriend's house. I was like, do not tell him I'm here. And I was back under the bed, and I hear her talking, and then I hear her start crying, and I'm like, that's it. Then I hate that life. You know what I'm saying? Took me to Bolivar County Jail. Back in Cleveland, Mississippi. And then they transported me to Clarksdale. The tornado came through and ripped the roof off Bolivar County Jail that night. Yep. I mean, every one of my stories, Whit was he was there. And anyway, I say all this just as a reminder of, like, these are dumb stories that I'm at some level are funny, but we've all got them. If you're in here, you know, what I'm trying to do is that you would find yourself in the narrative. Okay, like when the pastor is preaching, when he's talking about David, when he's doing whatever, like I'm constantly trying to find myself in the narrative. So that how does the spiritual principle apply to my life? And so as I tell these stories, what I want you to do is be like, yes, man, I know what you're talking about. Like, I love that life. I like to identify this way. But if you keep doing that, bro, like if you can be in here and you're just like, yes, man, I want God. I know there's a better way of life. And then by the time that you get out there, and somebody turns on Drake or whatever it is, and all of a sudden you're like, I want to sell dope again. Like you're just back and forth. At some point, man, you've got to kill that until your identity solidifies in a new way. Okay? That's why leadership class becomes so important, because the teacher typically learns more than the student. Honestly, man, it is good for me to be up here tonight. Look, I'm no pastor. Nobody calls me Pastor Trey. Don't you dare call me that, because I ain't no pastor, right? I am telling you, I don't meet the qualifications. I know pastor, right? But what I will tell you, man, is that I love God, all right? I don't get it right all the time. But I do get this right, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I don't ever want to go back to drinking or getting high ever again, okay? And that's where you want to land in this. That's where you've got to land in this, is to find yourself there where you're saying, man, I don't ever want to go back to that old way of life, man. Okay? So step 2 is coming to believe. And step 2, like some of y'all are coming in here and you're like, man, I don't know about this Jesus thing. Like I got here, somebody put me here. I don't know about this. I'm kind of agnostic. I believe there's something out there. And that's fine, man. It's fine, because when you, and I'll kind of reverse engineer this, because step 3 is making a decision to turn your will and your life over to God. Okay, and a lot of times, man, we just kind of kick that around like it's no big deal. That is a massive decision. I mean, that's like me asking one of y'all, being like, hey, give me your life and give me your decision-making ability. Let me think for you. You're like, bro, like, no way, dude. This is a cool spot, but I am not going to allow you to take over my ability to be able to think and act. Understand, that's what step 3 is. That's what it's asking from you, is that you would turn your will, that is the will to make decisions to what you're going to do with your life. There's not a bigger decision. I don't care if you're buying a house, you're buying land, you're going to buy a company, you're going to buy a car, you're going to buy whatever. Those are all pale in comparison to what step 3 is asking. That is saying to turn your decision-making ability over to something that you cannot see, taste, touch, or feel. It's a massive, massive, and you need to count the cost. You need to count the cost. You need to count the cost because it's a big deal. So step 2 is saying it is a transition step. It's like teaching a baseball swing, right? If you ask somebody, how do you hit a baseball that's never played baseball? I mean, they're just going to teach it to you in one step, right? You know what I'm saying? You just hit the ball. Hit the ball, right? But if you get down to somebody that understands how to coach baseball and breaks down a swing into 7 steps, into where you're going to load, where you're going to weight transfer, how you're going to swing. Look, I get Joe or somebody up here to break it down, but I know that it is a complex movement that will be taught in multiple steps, okay? So that is why in the 12 steps, right, so you just need 1 step, and you can do this fast. You don't have to sit here if you don't need to sit here, but some of you need to sit here. It is coming to believe. It is a progression. It is a transition step of saying, man, I don't know if I fully am bought into who God is, but I do believe there is something out there that can change the way that I'm thinking. It's just giving you room to grow. That's all that it is, because you need to consider that. Now, I wouldn't use that step as some way to say, hey, I'm just going to stay here and transition because I don't want any accountability and I don't really want God invading my life. And so therefore, I'm just going to stay in step 2. Step 2 is not to stay in long, okay? Step 2 is a transition step before you step into step 3, right? So step 2 is you're coming to believe. Take some time there. Consider that. Consider, who is Jesus? Who is God? Does he really love me? Where was he in the middle of that overdose? Where was he whenever my child died? Where was he in the wreck that killed the 22-year-old girl? I mean, you got to deal with some of those crazy. It's easy to sit in here and sing the worship songs, but I mean, you know, you get on Facebook or Instagram and you're going through there and it's just like, flipped my car today 7 times. Walked out without a scratch. Hashtag blessed. You know what I'm saying? Got a new Denali truck. Hashtag blessed. What about the girl that did die of cancer? What about the overdose where the Narcan didn't work? Or the Narcan did work and then the dope overtook the Narcan? What about all the people that didn't make it? Hashtag what? Not blessed? Hashtag, non-intervention of God? What are you going to do with that? I mean, we can play church. What are you going to do whenever God didn't intervene? What are you going to do whenever the 18-year-old girl that is driving to drug court, that's trying to beat heroin addiction, flips her 4Runner and has a traumatic brain injury and lives 2 more days, and we're praying and believing for God to do a miracle, and they declare brain dead and they pull the plug and she steps off into eternity? What do you mean, like, you got to do something with that? I mean, we can sit in here all day long, but if you fundamentally don't believe that God is good, then how in the world are you going to get to step 3? How in the world are you going to turn your will and your life over to the care of him if you're like, man, is he good? Is he not good? Is he maybe a little bit good, but sometimes he gets a little crazy? I mean, I'm for real. Is he good? Even when the girl doesn't make it? Even when the Narcan didn't work? Even when you prayed for your kid and your kid didn't make it? He's still good. I mean, you got to deal with that, because I bet you there's some people in here being like, that are mad as hell right now whenever I just said that. That are feeling with the tension of that, of the song, and the reality where he didn't move and he didn't do what they wanted him to do, didn't save the marriage, didn't save the kid, didn't save the leg, didn't save the job, didn't whatever they thought was going on. And we can sit here and say, oh, good Father, yes, sing the song. But in reality, there's a contradiction there, and there is something that is going on that you have to deal with and figure out where you're going to land. Because if you don't land that he is good, there is no way that step 3 happens. And step 3 is the kicker to the entire thing. There is no recovery. There is no peace. There is no sobriety. There is no nothing unless you can land and do a legitimate step 3. But if you don't believe that he is good, and you don't believe that he can be trusted, and if you don't believe that he'll come through for you, then there is no real recovery, because the whole thing hinges on that. The whole thing. So you got to do something with that. And look, man, I'm not even saying I got the answer. I mean, I love it. I love the Southern Baptist, God is good all the time, and all the time God's good. That's precious. But is that what you kick around at night? Is that what you kick around when you're sitting in the hospice room? Look, man, I'm not trying to deconstruct your faith, but I am telling you that you got to deal with that for real. You really have to deal with that. You go back into, Job lost everything. Job was a good man, and God let the devil touch Job's life. I mean, that's rough. God could have prevented it. Anything that came across your plate, God could have prevented it. We have seen God intervene, and we have seen him not intervene. I've seen him do miracles. I've seen him heal stage 4 cancer. I've seen him not heal stage 4 cancer. I've seen him save a drug addict and have somebody get hit with the power of God in their seat. And then I've seen others that just don't get it for whatever reason. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense. While some of us are here and some of us are not here. Job's wife comes to him, and she is frustrated, and she says, you need to curse God and die. Saying that your life has gotten so bad that God has allowed so much crazy stuff to happen in your life, you need to curse God and die. And Job responds and says, you speak as one of the foolish women speak. How is it that we're going to accept good from God but not accept bad? The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. The Lord gives and the Lord takes, but blessed be the name of the Lord. Look, man, I don't know how that lands, but there's a lot of what we're fighting for is perspective. That's what we're fighting for. That's what I'm fighting for tonight, okay? Did anybody in here ask to be a drug addict? You excited that you're a drug addict? I'm telling you, there are a lot of hellacious things to get, but being a drug addict is awful. I'm not happy about it. But I also don't spend any time there. I don't spend any time because it's not going to do me any good to look at that and say, God, why did you give me a disordered brain chemistry? Why did you give me something, a genetic predisposition, that I was predisposed that when alcohol would touch my tongue for the very first time, that it would set into motion this entire disaster of active addiction? I ain't happy about that. I mean, there's 330 million Americans, or, whatever there are, and there's like 25 million of us. And we happen to get touched with that thing. Some of you got it, because of a genetic predisposition. Some of you have an underlying mental health disorder, anxiety disorder, depression, ADHD, whatever it might be, and then you self-medicated to treat that. That's how you became an addict. Some of you weren't an addict. Some of you did not have a genetic predisposition. Some of you just didn't have a good friend group. Didn't really fit in with the athletes, didn't fit in with the cheerleaders, didn't fit in with the nerds, didn't fit in with the church people. You started hanging out with the people that smoked weed. They started smoking weed, then they started doing other stuff, and you sat around them long enough, and then you learned that behavior. Some of you had, just like that, had no problem whatsoever, and you blew out a shoulder, and the doctor overprescribed you Percocets. And then when you went to get off of them, that you felt flu-like symptoms, and then finally figured out that you were withdrawing. Tons of athletes got in here just like that. There's a variety of ways. Some of you, trauma. Some of you had no problem, drank successfully, partied, had the best time. At 60 years old, you lost a kid, and then all of a sudden you started coping with alcohol, and then that's what turned you into an addict. I mean, there's all different types of ways, but whatever it was that it got you here, I am not happy about it. I would have loved to have been anything, probably outside. There is nothing more embarrassing, more humiliating. I mean, the stuff that the drugs does to us is absolutely unreal. I mean, I would not want my highlight reel, played over here in front of y'all from whenever I was out there. I mean, it wasn't pretty. If you got here, there's some moments in your life that you wish to God would be buried in the archives and never be shown again. But the truth is I can't spend any time there. I cannot spend any time sitting there and, God, why did you do this to me? If I'm asking those types of questions, that is just delaying the healing process. I don't know what else to say except it is what it is. It is what it is, and you got here. And if you will allow God to work in your life, he will transform your life, and that he will make your life such a sign and a witness and a powerful testimony that it will shock you and it will shock everybody that knows you. But you have to let him do what only he can do. You know what? And here's the truth, man. Is like you're always going to live in the tension of contradiction. All right? But the one thing that we can't get wrong is going back to active addiction. Okay? You cannot get that wrong. You cannot, because everything else that you want to do in life, if you can't beat that, then you can't be present for everything else that God wants to do in your life. So this becomes paramount. What are you supposed to do in this season? You wage war on active addiction. You figure out everything that's driving that. Yes, there are so many other things to think about. Man, how am I going to dress? I'm going to rebrand myself. What's social going to look like? What kind of car am I going to get when I get out of here? Where am I going to what? Yes. Yeah. Okay, I am telling you, right now, you need to understand the season that you are in, and it is to make war on one thing and one thing only, and that is anything and everything that is driving active addiction in your life. Okay? That's it. That's what this season is for right here, because if you get that right, then you have a foundation to be able to build on. Whatever, anything that is hindering that process from taking place and moving at an exponential rate, then you need to make war on that. Okay? And that is how you become successful in your time here. Okay? You need a singleness of focus. All right? It is a gift right now that you have. Do you know what I would give right now to take 90 days to reinvent myself? That I could stop the kids, I could stop the work, I could stop the noise, I could stop the audits, I could stop everything and be like, you know what? I'm going to go out into a cabin. I'm going to take the 15 books that I want to read. I want to get a mentor. I want a therapist, and I want a group of people around me to process life with. Do you understand how much that I would grow in 90 days? Do you know what I would give to have a season like that? I'm telling you, you can kick and scream against this and talk about how it sucks and whatever. It is a gift of God that you have been given a window. Do you know how many people right now, I'm not talking about people that are making 40, 50 grand. I'm talking about people that are making 7, 8 figures right now that would give anything. They don't even know why they're doing it. They're miserable. How many stories you got to hear about a billionaire blowing out his stinking brains? They got bliss on tap. They got anything that they can think of to touch or do. King Solomon was the wisest, richest king that ever lived. Anything that he could conceive in his mind, he could make it become a reality. You know what he said about it? He said it was all vanity and I hated life. Anything that he could, you understand like what kind of money that is? Like what kind of real resources? And not just some like net worth that's tied up like in some company. I'm talking real solid, real cash, real money, real wealth, real gold. Anything that he wanted to conceive, that he could dream it up and that he could make it become a reality. And at the end of that, he said, man, it's all vanity and I hated life. Look, man, I'm not telling you, there's nothing wrong with being wealthy, making money, whatever it might be. But if that's the only thing that you're thinking about right now, I see it all the time. People come in here and they think, number one, the first thing that I got to do is get my fitness right, and then I got to start figuring out how I'm going to go and make money. Look, dude, I'm in the gym 6-7 days a week, all right? And I know I could do a little better at the table, but at least I'm in the gym, right? All right, I'm in the gym. It is critically important. I am about making money. I don't know how many companies I got, 6, 7 companies. I don't know. I like to break into markets. I'm in the process right now of buying another company in Louisville. I'm just telling y'all that. I'm telling you because I want that for you. I want you to touch more money than you've ever seen. I want you to be so stinking fit that you can't even stand it, that everybody's jealous of you or whatever it might be. But those are supplements. Those are not the foundation. Okay? I watch that all the time. I'll see somebody come in here, and they ain't been clean 2 days, and it is more important that they get on that bench press and get their testosterone cypionate refilled before they get, you know what I'm saying, before they get their Bible out, before they get the recovery. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you, some of y'all are hearing me right now, and it is a slippery slope. Self-help, Tony Robbins, all those guys like that. I'm not saying that they're bad. That cannot be your foundation. Okay? Get the foundation right. The gym can't come before your quiet time. I'm not saying like if you do the gym. I'm talking about just in the level of importance and what is going to drive your life forward. Because there is no gym and there is no money if you don't get this right. Okay? Like, just reset and recalibrate. Look, this isn't like the biggest thing. I mean, if y'all want to altar call, you play the music, make me sound spiritual, please. We'll do the altar call, and the music's going to play, and you come up here, and you can pray, and you get the stuff right, okay? All right? It's powerful. This is powerful up here. I know that tonight, this really, I don't want to preach. All I want you to understand is I own Good Landing Recovery, all right? I built this place, all right? Through God's vision, through God's inspiration. I call this thing Recovery Church, not because I necessarily want it to be a church service, is I just want y'all to know that y'all are welcome in church, all right? And I probably ought to change the name of it, and I'll probably do that. But I just want y'all to understand, like if you walk into church, like it's not going to catch you on fire, all right? What I'm telling you tonight probably wasn't like necessarily the most like inspirational type of packaged up message that I could deliver, but that is the foundational pieces. This music thing, getting this spiritual thing right, recalibrating your life, like that is what is going to drive change. If you will do that consistently, that will drive exponential growth, net worth, wealth, relational equity, everything that you hope to touch in your life and to be able to sustain. If you'll get that right, then everything else will follow, okay? Let's pray. Altar's open if you want to pray. We'll just be up here for a few minutes. Lord, we love you. God, I thank you so much for tonight, God. Be with this team, God. Be with Good Landing. We need you right now, Holy Spirit. Jesus, God is a man that stands before you that is in desperate need of you and your strength in my own life, God. I'm praying, God, Lord, touch us, God. Touch this program right now. Be with these people, God. They need you right now, God. They need you right now, Jesus, God. Protect us, God. Be with us, God. Deliver us, God. Breathe on us, Jesus. God, I love you, Lord. I need you in my life. God, be with our children tonight. God, our children that are back home, that are there without us right now. God, be with them, God. Protect their minds, God. Protect their hearts, Jesus. Let them know, God, that we love them, God. God, go into our future, God. God, our future jobs, God. Our future spouses, God. God, our future investments, God. We need you in our future, God. Go before us and prepare a way, God. Protect us, God. Protect us, oh God. We love you, Lord. We submit it all to you in Jesus' name. Amen.